So we have a strong focus in abstraction, and my name is Roy Hui. I'm one of the co-founders for LightLink, and I'd like to tell you guys a little bit more about the abstraction activities that we're having on LightLink. So firstly, it's great to be here. Thanks for Epic Web3 for inviting us. It's cool to be here in Bangkok as well. You know, DevCon's been all over the world, and having a important focus here in Asia is really important. So it's really cool to be here in Southeast Asia, in the region, to talk about blockchain, talk about Web3, and here in Bangkok. So we're a EVM layer 2 network with a strong focus in abstraction and enterprise. That's essentially it, right? There's a lot of other layer 2s out there, and we try to differentiate ourselves. But when we started, there weren't a lot of different layer 2s. It's really interesting to see hundreds of layer 2s popping out in the market. So let me just talk about a couple of things that we are. So firstly, we're fairly green because we're a layer 2. We don't use a lot of carbon, don't do a lot of carbon emissions. We have a higher-ish TPS, 5.7K so far at the moment. We're fairly cost-effective, so when you send through a transaction, it's relatively cheap. We started with this unique feature, which is a gasless capability. It talks about our abstraction journey. So the first abstraction that we did was a gas abstraction. So enterprise customers can essentially use our technology to offer gasless transactions to all the builders out there. We're EVM, of course. I think it's really important to be a part of the wider Ethereum ecosystem. And we're fairly fast. Our block time is about 250 milliseconds, 500 milliseconds, depending on the day. So abstraction is really important, right? That's why we're here today at this panel, listening to me talk. So as I was saying, I flew here today, got on plane, landed this morning, so a little bit delirious, but it's okay. We're when we talk about this industry, right? So one of the best ways that I heard someone talking about abstraction is you get on an airplane, right? You get on from destination A and you get off on destination B. We have no idea how this engine works. And for some strange reason, for us as an industry, especially when I started, people were talking about proof of work, proof of stake, block time, all kinds of really crazy things. But that plane I was on, 99% of the people on the plane had no idea how an engine worked. The pilots that was, flying the plane didn't know how the engine works. But us as an industry don't work like that. When you talk about developers interfacing with this technology, we get very, very low level. And I think when I've been in computer science for, all my life, right? And we try to think of level of abstractions. And unfortunately for us, somehow, we're still operating on a very lower level of abstraction. So let me just step through that. When you look at how to send a token, so hands up to all the developers in the room. Yeah, okay, we've got a lot of you. So I think you guys will know what I'm talking about here. So firstly, it takes a lot to send a token as a developer, okay? You have to choose which chain to use, which RPC to use, and you have to deploy a smart contract. It takes specialized knowledge, right? So this is a copy and paste of the USDT smart contract, and there are thousands and thousands of lines when you look at a simple ERC20 token. Then you add features and things like that. It's so unique as one of our characteristics of the industry. If you get a line wrong, all of your tokens get stolen, right? Or if you get one line wrong, all of your tokens get locked up and things happen as a consequence. So as a developer, when you send a token, you need to figure out, because not everybody can interact with the blockchain directly, you have to figure out infrastructure that sits on top of the blockchain. So you need to provision servers, looking at, relays, looking at, queuing up the transactions, doing all kinds of things from a server side. And then you have to write the server code. And then you have to write like the UI code to interact from a website perspective. So it requires a dedicated team with very specialized knowledge to interact with a blockchain. And it's pretty complex. I understand the complexity, but it doesn't actually need to be like that. So when you look at who are we competing with, right? We're not really competing with Solana as a EVM ecosystem. We are, but we're actually competing with other, technology out there that exists today. This is the norm, guys, right? Like for all the developers. Stripe as a key shiny example of the industry. It's 26 lines of code. It's super, super freaking simple. This is my secret key. I want to check out something. I want to pay in USD, and I'm selling T-shirts for $20 each. And this is the URL I go when it's successful, and this is the URL when I go when it fails. It's really, really simple, right? But we don't do this as an industry. So, and we should be. We want to be, right? So this is what I think that underlining the importance of abstraction, because when we do, we can achieve a lot more. So just to reiterate, from a user perspective, for those that haven't raised their hands, you have to do this on the desktop, right? Because if you're doing it on a mobile device, you'll be losing your token, so be really careful about that security. You have to do it on the specialized browser, because not all browser supports, what we want to do. You have to use a plugin, that's secure, that's not going to steal your money, and you have to be super paranoid about security. Because again, one of the unique characteristics of our industry, you click on the wrong link, you click on the wrong button, all of your money is going to get stolen. That's crazy, right? So, okay, so when you talk about security, other things that you need to consider are where you're going to put your C phrases, how you're going to manage your stored private keys, how you're going to back up and recover, right? And when you sign a message, what kind of message are you signing? All kinds of things that it's really difficult for my mom and dad to use, which is eventually where we want to get to as an industry. So then you have to look at all the cryptocurrency that's used to facilitate this transaction. You have to go buy ETH, right? You have to go to a centralized exchange, buy ETH, so on and so forth. And not to even mention about these things, right? Has anyone put one of these things together? It's crazy, right? Versus our competitors, right? Like, we're again not competing with the Phantoms, the other blockchains. This is who we're competing with, Apple, okay? It's a tap to pay. It's actually that simple. I walk up to anything in any terminal in Bangkok or in Australia where I am, or Singapore, or anywhere. I'm using the same device, iOS. I go to a terminal, I tap, and I pay. It's just done. And iOS released this new feature in iOS 18, which unlocks NFC, so I can do peer-to-peer payment as well, right? So there's, when you look at the level of complexity, working with a blockchain network, working with a payment system, this is so abstracted. So this is what we're trying to say. In terms of abstraction, by doing better abstraction, you get better usability. You get growth as an industry, so people, when you want to deploy a new token, don't need to work in the trenches, gathering all kinds of different specialized knowledge and building specialized technology. Maybe you get better security because you're building on top of others that have been audited and tested and battle proven, right? So this is how you can say our industry has matured, as opposed to writing smart contracts from the bottom up. And therefore we can get better adoption and other people can build on top of it. So I think abstraction is the most important thing for our industry, and that's why it's a very clear focus for us. So this is what we do. We want to accelerate a global adoption of Web3, and we do that by doing a lot of abstraction. So we came up with the word abstract everything. And talking about a couple of things that we're working on. So firstly, we started with our gas abstraction. I'll talk more about that in a bit. We're working on something really cool that's all about account abstraction, and we are doing other types of chain abstraction capabilities too. So in terms of gas abstraction, I spoke about this earlier. So we started in 2017 as a builder. And we got so freaking frustrated with building in the industry because every single CTO that I talk to, every single CEO that I talk to, when we talk about enterprise customers, they would ask me, how much does it cost to send a transaction? I can't answer that question. How much does it cost to send 10,000 transactions from my 10,000 users 6 months from now? We can't answer that as an industry. So we try to solve that particular problem by changing economics of our blockchain. Not only we have a public mode, but we also have an enterprise mode where you can pay a subscription fee, very much like AWS, and we handle the rest. So we're flipping the tokenomics upside down from that perspective. Yeah, there are other people who are doing this, but we get around the volatility that we see as an industry. Chain abstraction is pretty cool because we want to be very much like the Stripe example that I showed before, right? So instead of writing specialized code, write a single line of code, an API call, and do most of the things that you want to do. Call customized smart contracts, send a token, mint NFT, so on and so forth. This technology has been used in mainnet. We're in mainnet, and we process 100,000-ish transactions every day. This technology has been used to mint, I think, about 18 million NFTs, and we see all kinds of innovation with that. It's really interesting. Like people creating records at the end of a game, or we want people to create identity, create records of trades, all kinds of different things. And if you have, what we're trying to say is, instead of worrying about the technology from a fundamental perspective, think higher level. How can one line of code, one line of NFT, creating a permanent record, change a existing problem rather than let's create another NFT marketplace, right? So this is what we're working on. It's a account abstraction capability. Let's see if the video plays. So basically, you've probably seen similar technology like this in the past, where you can sign in with Google, sign in with Apple. But in the previous iteration of this technology, someone has to hold a private key, right? It has to be in the server, it has to be broken up in different places, multi-party computation, so on and so forth. So what we've done is using ZK to sign a message and use a smart contract to verify the message that's signed by that credential provider. So in that equation, there's no private key that lives somewhere, which is a really interesting piece of technology because it allows you to interact directly with the blockchain with very little risk for security because there isn't a third party that's holding a private key. Well, the video is not playing, but it behaves very much like how you expect it to behave. Signing with Google and a ZK account is created for you. The math with ZK is crazy, so if you're a computer nerd like me, go check it out. And the smart contract on the blockchain would verify your identity and allow you to carry out everything that you want to do from a smart contract wallet perspective, like sending tokens, minting NFTs, so on and so forth. So this is what we're trying to do, abstract everything, because I believe when you abstract more of the complexity, we can do more as an industry. We can do bigger, brighter things. Like, for example, here in Thailand, we're working with a very large media company to build more Web3 capabilities. For example, we've launched media asset tokenization with some of the movies that's been playing. We are looking at doing better real estate here in Thailand, so on and so forth. We've recently announced our partnership with Lamborghini. The mint that happened last week on Base was a acquisition channel to migrate users onto LightLink because the whole ecosystem that happens with Lamborghini actually happens on LightLink, so that's really cool. And we have a strong strategic focus partnership with Animoca brands where we're doing lots of really interesting things across the industry. So that's it for us. Thanks for listening to me talking about the importance of abstraction. And reach out, let's build together. Let's do, look at how we can create, do more things as an industry. Thank you.